New moon, solar eclipse in Leo, occurring August 12th. Quote, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." Carl Jung, Leo Sun. This month on August 12th, we will be having a new moon total solar eclipse in the sign of Leo at 11:36 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Astrologers are divided on whether or not eclipses affect people. Over the past 20 years that I have been tracking eclipses in my own life, I've noticed that while some pass without affecting me at all, others have caused enormous sudden change to occur in my life. The eclipses that affected me appeared to be due to occurring in strong aspect to a sensitive point or planet in my natal chart. Solar eclipses tend to signify new beginnings, while lunar eclipses indicate endings. The solar eclipse we have occurring on August 12th will occur at 20 degrees and 1 arc minute of Leo. Therefore, if you are able to look at your birth chart, you can check to see if you have any planets or sensitive points close to 20 degrees of Leo, 20 degrees of Aquarius, 20 degrees of Taurus, or 20 degrees of Scorpio. If you have something in your birth chart in a degree near one of those areas, this eclipse might affect you. Renowned astrologer Steven Forrest believes that Leo is the most misunderstood sign of the zodiac. Pop astrology would have every Leo sun dancing around with a nightshade on their head, calling out, "Look at me," and wanting attention. While that type of Leo exists, it's far less common than many people realize. The more common signature of Leo is that they do not want to be the center of attention, and might even shy away from being in the spotlight or from being around people entirely. Another signature of Leo is having a quiet dignity. They will almost always give off the vibration of being okay, even when they're not. Saying, "I'm not actually doing very well right now," is one of the strongest cries for help a Leo can manage. This is because people with prominent Leo energy have come in with a wound of feeling betrayed by their fellow humans. To risk coming across as anything but okay and being noticed for it feels subconsciously dangerous. The evolutionary aim of Leo is to authentically express themselves creatively, gather their emotional courage, and then share their creativity with an audience who appreciates it, so that Leo can experience a healing with their fellow humans. If you are curious to read more about the evolutionary astrology take on Leo, or about any of the other signs, I highly recommend the short book, Steven Forrest, Sun Signs. If you have read or listened this far, I feel the need to fully disclose to you that 4 of the 10 planets in my chart, including my sun, are in the sign of Leo. Because nearly half my chart is in Leo, it is an area of astrology that is obviously quite personal to me. To that end, I would like to offer a true story that may exemplify Leo energy in a way that is less commonly seen. It was the summer of 2000, and I found myself on an adventure backpacking alone through Italy. I'd landed in Geneva at my great-aunt's apartment. She'd helped me gather all the last-minute necessities along with a one-way ticket south. My plan was to begin in Rome, searching for the place that my grandfather had been born back in 1913, and then to travel leisurely back north to Switzerland. I got off to a rocky start, having immediately wandered into a privately reserved car on the train instead of sitting in the general passenger section. It had been an honest mistake, one of many that I would make that summer. Fortunately, the 3 elderly Italians who came in to join me presently simply accepted my presence there without question. I pulled out my Italian phrase book and gamely struck up a conversation, which they seemed to find charming. They all spoke English, as it turned out, and became delightful, informative companions until we alighted in Rome. Armed with my rucksack and a tour book where I'd circled the hostels with addresses where I might stay, I set off to inquire about a place for the night. 3 hostel enquiries later, I'd found all of them to be already booked for the night, even though it was only around 6 o'clock. Feeling dejected, I slunk around to the back of a statue standing near the wall of a medieval church. After setting my pack down in front of me, I leaned against the cool wall of the statue and slid down it. Then, wrapping my arms around my knees, I hid my face and let myself cry. A slow, creeping fear was beginning to come over me as I realized that I could end up sleeping on the street that night if I couldn't find a place to stay. I then said a fervent, silent prayer asking to be guided to the perfect place for me to stay that night and to give me a neon sign that it was the right place for me to be with safe people. With that, I stood up, shouldered my pack, and set off again, not knowing exactly where I was going. As I walked into a new area, I suddenly stopped, seeing the copper plaque on a stone wall showing the location of a hostel. It wasn't one that was listed in my book. Impulsively, I stopped and rang the bell. The proprietor, a giant bear of a man, answered the door. Involuntarily, I took a step back as his eyes bore into me for a few seconds. Then abruptly, he asked if I wanted a bed for the night. I'd been staring back at him the whole time he'd been staring at me, waiting. I began to realize that occasionally people who were getting ideas about what they'd like to do to me sexually would sometimes accidentally transmit pictures of their desires to me telepathically, so that I was forewarned and could get away. I waited, still looking at the man, but no pictures came, so I accepted his offer of a bed for the night. I proceeded upstairs to a large room with 5 beds. 2 guys were already there talking enthusiastically when I appeared. They instantly stopped to greet me warmly. Matt was from the East Coast in the U.S., and Peter was from Liverpool, England. They rapidly explained how they'd both been traveling separately and had just met each other a few minutes before I'd walked in. "We just found out that we both have the exact same birthday," Matt laughed. "Oh, really?" I paused. "The year 2? "Yes," put in Peter, smiling. "The year 2. "So what's your birthday?" I asked, putting down my pack and glancing from one to the other of them, their infectious energy making me grin. They answered in unison, giving the full day, month, and year of their births. My grin faded as incredulity and shock set in. "Seriously? That's not possible," I said slowly. "Here, want to see my passport?" And with that, Matt yanked something out of his rucksack and thrust it into my hands. I opened it, and sure enough, his date of birth was there, the exact day, month, and year that Matt and Peter had said. Peter was fumbling for his own passport, which I already knew would be the same. "Why, what is it?" asked Peter, watching me closely with a flicker of concern. My head felt strange, and I heard myself as if from far away saying, "Because that's my birthday, too." A full 5 seconds of silence passed before we all started to laugh, passing our passports to each other to confirm what statistically was almost impossible. Suddenly, the bell to the hostel door downstairs rang, and we all got quiet. 2 guys were talking on the stoop, and something about the way they were talking to each other caused the 3 of us upstairs listening by the open window to exchange nervous glances. Presently, the proprietor who had let us in answered the door, and there was a brief silence after the guys asked for beds for the night. "Sorry, I'm booked tonight. I have no beds available," the proprietor replied gruffly before closing the door. He then came directly up to our room with the 5 beds and addressed us. "Not good boys. I wait for nice people like you," he said, gesturing to the 3 of us before stamping heavily back down the stairs. That's when I realized why the proprietor had stared at me so intently when I'd first rung the bell. He was screening each guest he accepted. "Guys, we should do something like go explore Rome together," suggested Matt, to which Peter and I immediately agreed. It had been the neon sign that I'd requested, the answer to my prayer for a safe place to stay with safe people. I'd found my fellow pride of lions with enough Leo exuberance to coast on for quite some time. In the end, we spent an entire week in Rome together, Matt, Peter, and I. It was the most comfortable, platonic friendship between 3 people that I could have imagined. We planned out our activities each evening, watched each other's backs to guard against pickpockets, and took turns telling each other stories. Lots of stories. Our stories were authentic expressions of ourselves, and we garnered confidence in learning that we each could depend on the other two to be an appreciative audience, ready to laugh. I felt my own sunny warmth reflected back to me in Peter and Matt's faces as they listened to me and then took their own turns. It was an unexpectedly healing experience, and one that I will never forget. To quote Channing Pollock, "Calm self-confidence is as far from conceit as the desire to earn a decent living is remote from greed." So during this Leo season, enjoy your own self-confidence when doing something you know you do well. It may be appreciated by those around you more than you think. Happy New Moon, Angela.